afternoon. Thank you very much, Tristan. Good afternoon to
Good afternoon.
everyone, to my fellow speakers, and of course, especially to my brothers and sisters in profession, the seafarers. It has been my pleasure to always address my brothers and sisters in profession because I do believe that the seafarers are professional uh, seafarers and that they are uh, the prime movers of the world. For us to be able to recognize the seafarers as key personnel, we also must be able to understand the important role of shipping in the world trade. About 90% of the world trade is carried by ships. You cannot see containers being carried through planes. Uh, Oil and crude oil and gas are being transported by ships. A lot of food products, raw materials are being transported from one country to the other by ships. Without shipping, we cannot trade with each other. Even if we have the online system now, we still need vessels or ships to transport these goods from one country to the other. And thank you for the seafarers for their active participation in running the ships, that these ships are now growing in efficiency. And we could see that the transport of goods are becoming efficient and faster during this time. However, I could say that this may be hampered by the COVID-19 situation at the moment. Why are we saying that the seafarers are key personnel? Because they are the ones who have been running the vessels. And I know that, next slide please. And I know that during this pandemic period, the seafarers have been affected by the limitation in travels. And the ship owners are also being affected by the added cost in dealing with all of these challenges. I could say that I have heard one speaker earlier saying that there are thousands of seafarers that have been stranded during this pandemic period. Yes, that is correct. And we are still expecting about 40,000 overdue seafarers to come home anytime from now. We are just trying to find ways in letting the crew changes be done in the different countries. Our challenges now is that flights are very difficult to get because of the lockdowns, not only in the Philippines, but also in the other countries, even in Europe. Some countries have been opening up their airports, but the challenge is a lot of countries are also giving limitations on the stay of the seafarers in their country. Therefore, we cannot arrange crew changes when there are no flights back to the Philippines. Because our seafarers, when they are joining the vessels, the disembarking crew must be able to return home. If they will stay in the host country, the vessel will not be allowed to sail. And if those situations are present, of course, we cannot arrange flights and we are unable to do crew changes. Uh, IMO has agreed that the seafarers should have the free access. Next slide, please. And they are encouraging the member states of IMO to give leniency in the travel of the seafarers. And this is the reason why the Philippines is also trying to find ways on how to liberalize the travel of the seafarers from one island to the other. I know Cebu is still on ECQ at the moment, and we're still having difficulty flying in our seafarers from Cebu to Manila so that we can process them to join the vessels. And same as the flights, we are still having limited flights coming into the Philippines, and therefore uh, the return of the seafarers is still limited at this point. Next slide, please. We should acknowledge, next slide, that there are about 50,000 vessels trading worldwide. And the seafarers manning these vessels are around 1.5 million from different nationalities. Out of those numbers, 46% are officers and 54% are ratings. And I am very proud to say that 25% of these seafarers are Filipinos. We are still the biggest supplier of ratings, followed by China, Indonesia, the Russian Federation, and Ukraine. While China is the biggest supplier of officers, followed by the Philippines, um, I could say that the number of officers of China is on their national flag vessels. So if we will be counting the number of officers being supplied in the world fleet, we could still say that the Filipinos is still one of the biggest number. Next slide, please. And with that, we should be proud that we are Filipino seafarers because we are the prime movers of the world. I know we still need to go out of the country to sail. And for us to be able to join the vessels, we should follow the new normal. Next slide, please. Trainings. I have heard some of the speakers earlier talking about online or uh, virtual trainings. And I know this is happening at the moment because of the restriction in the face-to-face training activities. Even document renewals are being done online. Marina has already established its online system where you can file, you can renew your documents online. Same with the processing of passports and Siemens book. When doing our medical, we normally call it PEME, the pre-employment medical examination. It's now being scheduled. Unlike before, you can send anyone by simply asking them to go to the clinic. But now you have to schedule the seafarers in coming to the clinic because the number is very limited. The initial examination of seafarers are even done virtually at this point, and only those that needs extraction or actual tests that they would be required to go to the clinic. Prior joining the vessel, seafarers are being uh, subjected to RT-PCR test or the swab test. And our limitation at the moment is the limited number of laboratories that can process the results. Some countries, receiving countries, are putting some limitations in the validity of the RT-PCR test. For example, Singapore, for you to be able to join a vessel in Singapore, your RT-PCR test should be valid within 48 hours from the time of swabbing. In some other countries, it is 72 hours. So we are really getting challenges, especially when laboratories are breaking down and unable to issue the certificates or the results in time for us to deploy seafarers. And of course, after the swabbing, while waiting for the result of the RT-PCR tests, seafarers are being required to do isolation. They should stay in a quarantine area or in their respective houses and should limit going out of the quarantine facilities so that they won't or they can minimize the chances of being infected. As I have mentioned earlier, travel is also very uh, challenging at the moment. Next slide, please. During the new normal, we seafarers are now even in their time of travel are being required to wear face masks, bring sanitary kits, and uh, they are being advised that their hand carry should only contain essential things and could no longer carry big bags at the moment. Um, Luggages are strict in sizes and in weight because everything are being required to be placed in the luggage. And of course, social distancing, even in reporting in the office, is a requirement. I know for my fellow seafarers, this time would be very difficult for us or challenging. But we have to adapt to these changing times and to the new normal. Uh, I would say that you are, we as mentioned earlier, you are the heroes uh, of the industry because you are no longer ambassadors of the Philippines in terms of being seafarers, but you are the prime movers of the world. You make the trade possible for all the countries. And all that we have to do is to take care, use all the safety measures that are being, or the protocols that are being given to us, and we will be safe. All the vessels that we have in our company are practicing the protocols, and we are ensuring that our seafarers are safe on board. With that, I would like to end my presentation. And as mentioned earlier, if there are questions, I can answer later on. Thank you very much for this opportunity.